Hey, hey, hey. Time for another Out of This World story from our space. Starting a family with the one you love most is a beautiful thing. And yes, it's true, children can bring significant challenges for couples. But that's why it's important to truly know who you're about to embark on the biggest adventure with. Today on our space, not everyone is as they seem. Up first, OP finds some hard pills to swallow. Caught my wife sleeping with her student. I ruined both of their careers. Hello everyone, I'm Jake, 30s of a male, and I was married to my ex-wife, Leah, 30 female, for 3+ years. We were two love peas in a pod, and I would never imagine she would destroy all we had by cheating on me. Even as I write this story, my heart is really heavy, and I hope writing this will help me feel better in some way. Leah and I met some years ago at a street festival in our town, and for some reason, I kept bumping into her despite the number of people on the street that day. The last time I bumped into her, we had to stop and laugh because we had obviously seen each other at least 6 times that day. I firmly believe in the universe aligning things for me, so I assumed the universe was trying to send me a message with the average height, green-eyed blonde lady I kept bumping into. I was forced to talk to her. Our conversation was smooth and everything about her seemed perfect. Also, she sounded very intelligent, and during our conversation, I realized she recently began her career as a professor in physics at her state college. That was a big one, mainly because she did not look like it, and if one was not careful, one would think she had just graduated from college because of her body stature and how young she looked facially. Initially, I didn't think Leah and I would end up dating each other. I mostly thought of her as an intelligent friend that sometimes intimated me with her intelligence. But as we hung out more and got to know each other better, I fell for her. Likewise, she loved my company too and fell in love with me. About 2 months after we met, she started to share a bed with me. She would occasionally come to my house for some advice whenever she was having issues with her then boyfriend. As time passed, we became intimate. I know we shouldn't have, but I did that because she told me she was on the edge of breaking up with her boyfriend, and a few weeks after our intimacy started, she broke up with him. She said he did not match up with her intellectually, and his personality was totally different from hers. Although her excuse for breaking up with her boyfriend didn't sit well with me, I was glad we were together. I didn't know I was setting myself up in a trap. Eventually, we ended up dating for 9 months, and we married. I was madly in love with her, and I believed she would be the woman that would heal me with her love, and hopefully, we would grow old together. Before Leah and I married, we agreed to have children early because I loved kids and didn't want to wait till 40 to be a dad. I wanted to spend enough time with my kids, grow with them, and shower them with the fatherly love I never had. Our plan was perfect initially, but about a year after we married, Leah could not conceive. This even became more heartbreaking for me in the second year of our marriage because we tried everything possible and ran a series of tests to find out why she couldn't conceive, but everything was fine. Without her knowledge, I would even do some tests to be sure that I wasn't the problem, and each time the results came out fine. Unlike Leah, I was worried because I had expected we would at least have a child in the second year of our marriage, but that didn't happen, and to be honest, it made me sad. I know it's usually a woman's thing to be obsessed with kids, but in our situation, Leah didn't seem bothered about it. Her usual phrase was, "Don't worry, we will have a child when the time is right," and she would carry on with whatever she was doing. At one point, I had to stop mentioning it because she made me feel like I was overdoing it or blaming her for our inability to have kids, so I stopped. I know this information is very sensitive and I'm not supposed to share it here, but it is crucial for me that I do. And at the end of my story, you'll understand why. Despite not having a child, I didn't allow that to weigh down our marriage. I took it as an opportunity to bond more with Leah and enjoy her company before the children came. But as time passed, I noticed Leah began to change. A couple of months later, we were like strangers living under the same roof. For example, I worked as a construction worker, and even without meeting most of my colleagues and clients, Leah knew their names, how they looked like, their behaviors and attitude, and this was because we had the habit of telling each other details of our day at work. Also, I knew the names of the students who took her course, how they looked, and everything else without meeting them. I knew the students that were giving her a tough time and the cool ones. And this was possible because Leah used to talk a lot about her students and her day at work in general. You're wondering how things changed? I'll tell you. Our whole daily conversation just stopped. I could not explain why everything changed. Initially, when it started, I instantly thought she was having a bad day. But her bad day turned into bad weeks, and the weeks roll into months. We could go weeks without bonding like we used to, and if I tried to start a conversation, she would either say that she was busy at the moment, or we would talk later, which never happened. As if that wasn't enough, our intimacy was reduced. It got to the point I started begging to touch her, but no matter how much I tried, she would never agree. Instead, she would get offended and walk out of the bedroom. Whenever she did, it was a slap on my ego, and it would break my heart at the same time. I felt she was denying me my husband's rights, and she was trying to avoid us having a child. But because I loved her so much, I was patient and tried not to make a big deal out of it. As funny as it sounds, I believed she would realize she was pushing me away and would try to make things right. But that never happened. Instead, she grew more distant, and we almost became beefing roommates because our communication dropped terribly. At this point, you might be thinking I should have done some investigation to find out why she suddenly changed, but I didn't. I was blinded by love and wanted things to work out between us. I made a compromising decision to show how desperate I was to make things work out because I thought it would change things between us. I had a conversation with Leah and told her it didn't matter if we had a child or not, and if she wanted, we could spend the rest of our lives without a child, which seemed to cheer her up. For the whole week, she changed a bit, and our intimacy returned. Even though it felt as if I was forcing myself on her, it was better than nothing. Exactly a week later, she returned to her cold, distant self. It was almost as if she was faking the new change for only a week, and as soon as she was done, she took off the happy changed Leah's mask. This was very frustrating for me. It affected me at work and affected my ability to sleep. When I hear how couples say they can go a whole week without connecting or talk to each other while living in the same house, I won't normally do it because, in my situation, it was taking its mental toll on me. On the other hand, Leah didn't care. She would return from work in a great mood, make dinner or lunch for herself, focus on her books and laptop for the rest of the evening. And whenever she was tired, she would go to bed. The following day, she would repeat the same cycle and leave me to wallow in my loneliness. Towards our third anniversary, I decided to make things right by celebrating her the whole week, buying her something nice and taking her to a new fancy restaurant that had recently opened in our town. I had already made preparations and reserved a table for us. Even after reminding her with text messages the whole day, she didn't show up. She didn't even return home that night. She claimed she slept off at her fellow professor's house while in the middle of a project they were working on, and that was the last straw that broke the camel's back for me. I had enough already. I was emotionally drained, mentally sick, and tired of everything happening. Already, I'd been battling with the thought of Leah cheating on me, but I chose to give her the benefit of the doubt. I guess I refused to admit there was a possibility of her cheating on me because of how broken and devastated I would be to find out that the woman I loved and adored was having an affair with someone else. So after everything that happened on the week of our anniversary, I did some digging, found one of those private investigators online, and hired him to see if Leah was up to something behind my back. While the private investigator followed Leah around, I tried to do some digging on my own. On the nights I knew she was utterly exhausted and deeply asleep, I'd use her fingerprint to unlock her phone and go through it. I had seen many stories of wives cheating on their husbands and how they found out by going through their wives' phones, so I searched for dating apps, checked her emails, both her personal and work email. I checked her social media, searched for contacts saved with suspicious names and emojis, and after minutes of searching, I could not find anything. The next day when she woke up, I asked if I could borrow her laptop to do something, and she gave it to me with glee. I used the opportunity to go through her laptop, hoping to discover a hidden app or social media account, but she was as clean as a weasel. I think he meant to say whistle. There was no trace for evidence that she was cheating on me, and I even began to feel bad for hiring a private investigator to invade her privacy. Since it was a weekend, I wanted to call the private investigator to back off and explain to him that I was only being paranoid, but I decided to wait until Monday since Leah was mainly home on the weekends. Eventually, Monday came, and I called the private investigator to back off, but he said he had gathered a few things he would love me to see before I could tell him. She even think that this was only a week after I hired him. Honestly, folks, I almost had a heart attack before I met up with the investigator. That was the longest drive of my life, and throughout the 15-minute drive, all thoughts crossed my mind. Ultimately, I met with the private investigator, and what I feared the most happened. Leah was seeing someone, and looking at the pictures of them walking hand in hand as they went to different places broke my heart. I'll admit I cried. I had always been emotionally soft and couldn't believe Leah was cheating on me. They even went to the new restaurant. I booked us a table, but she didn't show up. There were also pictures of them making out in Leah's car, going into a hotel together, and hanging out late at night. Well, it turned out that the project Leah was working on was the man in her arms. The most heartbreaking part was he was younger and was definitely in his early 20s. My investigator gathered that her lover was a final year physics student named Ryan, and Leah was his professor. The moment my private investigator mentioned his name, it rang a bell, and my heart sank. In the past, Leah had mentioned Ryan to me many times, and she praised him a lot because he was super intelligent and never gave her a tough time. He was also one of her best students, and I knew she talked about him regularly because she loved intelligent people, but I never imagined she would stoop so low and cheat on me with her student. I was so heartbroken and angered at the same time. In the past 3 years plus, I sacrificed a lot for Leah and ensured life was comfortable for her. I did most of the cooking, cleaning, and grocery shopping because she always complained about tiredness. The only thing Leah did was the laundry, and she took care of that on weekends while I handled the rest. The splitting of bills was 70-30. I took the more significant share because I believed it was my responsibility as a man to cover most of the bills. I wanted to help so she could save some money. I thought it was normal to try and help out the one you love, and that was precisely what I did. The worst was my mother not supporting my relationship and marriage with Leah. But I married her, which shook our relationship. After recapping the past and returning to my reality, I got my crap together and asked my private investigator to keep following Leah. I was unsatisfied with the picture evidence and wanted something more epic. I wanted to catch them in the act. When I got home that day, I didn't say a word to confront her despite how angered I was and tempting it was. I wanted to leave the house. I feared I would harm her in her sleep, so I packed a couple of clothes from the closet, and in the process of doing so, I found something that destroyed whatever love was left in my heart for Leah. I found birth control pills. Packs of birth control pills, carefully tucked under the pile of folded clothes. It didn't make sense to me initially because Leah could not conceive. We tried for 2 years and nothing happened, so she had no reason to take birth control pills, unless she was trying to prevent getting pregnant. And almost immediately, it dawned on me that she had been taking birth control pills the whole time. She was the reason she could not conceive, yet she allowed me to worry and think something was wrong with us. I held the birth control pills and cried bitterly. Finding out she was on birth control pills hurt me more than knowing she cheated on me with a younger guy. Well, I left the house and told her I would visit my mother and would return that weekend. I wasn't. It was bait, and I hoped she would take it. I had to lodge at a hotel that night to clear my head. The following day, my PI notified me that he had been following Leah the whole afternoon, and it seemed like she and her affair partner were heading to my house. This was precisely what I wanted. I had seen videos of men bursting into their cheating wives, and I was ready to go all out for her. I spiced things up by hiring a videographer and paid him to follow me. Shortly after Leah and Ryan arrived in my house, I arrived too, but I waited for them to settle. About 15 minutes later, I went into the house of my videographer. She never locks the front door, and I could bet on that, especially when she knew I wasn't coming home until the weekend. We crept to the room, and no one heard us because the soft music played in the living room. My stomach churned as I walked to our bedroom door, and without wasting time, I kicked the door open, and my videographer recorded Ryan standing behind Leah as they did it. The next minute, they were scurrying for their clothes like rats, and as soon as she wrapped her head around what was going on, she started screaming and yelling at me. I was so angry that I pulled her by the arm and threw her out of the house, naked. Her affair partner managed to wear his pants, and he ran out before I could return to him. It was a terrible scene. She yelled and banged on my door, and the neighbors were forced to come out and see what it was. When she realized what she had done, she ran into her car and drove off with Ryan. Long story short, that same day, which was 2 weeks ago, I forwarded all the pictures my PI gathered and the video from the videographer to the college she worked at. I got the idea from one of the stories I read here. I knew how it would end, and things turned out as expected. The following week she was fired and her dear lover was expelled in his final year. Now the thing is, I thought all the pain and anger would go away after I ruined their careers, but nothing has changed. I even feel more terrible now because Leah had been blowing up my phone and promised to make my life miserable since I ruined hers. I'm so confused right now. Wow, OP. This is definitely a blow to the ego that you didn't need. At first, it seemed like her attitude towards you was due to her own thoughts and feelings of not being able to start a family with you, as if she was battling her own inner demons. Turns out she was exercising a demon, all right, in the bedroom. I'm so sorry she lied to you like that for so long, and to make you worry at some point that you were unable to have children. That's so cruel to do to someone you claim to love. Moreover, I wonder how she was able to hide all this on her electronics. At the same time, you did start the relationship in shady circumstances. You knew she was still with her then-boyfriend at the time, and yet you still pursued each other. I'm not saying you were asking for this, but it definitely didn't start off with the best intentions. Update 1. Hey everyone, thank you for your comments. Most of you were saying our marriage was rushed, and I should have known her longer than that. To be honest, I didn't think our marriage was rushed. I was in love and didn't see anything wrong with getting married after 9 months of dating. I even know couples who dated for only 4 months and have been married for more than 20 years now. Anyways, I accept my mistake, and if I ever love again, I'll make sure to date long enough. You guys are also right. Leah breaking up with her ex-boyfriend to be with me was a red flag, and I should have known she would do the same with me once she saw someone new. It's just that I never expected things to turn out like this. Meanwhile, I met with Leah 2 days ago and gave her the divorce papers. She was stunned that I wanted to divorce her, and instead of signing it, she laughed. She said she was doing me a favor by marrying me, and from the onset, I was too dumb for her. I swear that hurt, but I covered it up with a smile. Until 2 days ago, and the day I caught her red-handed, I had never seen her for the beast she was. Right now, it feels like a veil has been taken off my eyes, and I prefer to have this heartbreak now than to end up raising another man's child only to realize in the future that she was cheating me the whole time. The part that really messed with my head was that she showed no remorse, and said she kept talking about how I was lucky to be with her and how I wouldn't last a month without running to beg her to take me back. She wishes. She didn't sign the divorce papers. She took them instead. She said she was giving me time to get over my hurt feelings and think about the mistake I was about to make. The effrontery. If only she knows that there can never be us again. She still doesn't know I found the birth control pills and I haven't mentioned anything. I thought she would bring up her being sacked due to breaking the rules, but she didn't. She focused more on me coming back to her. Meanwhile, I will update you all again as soon as she signs the divorce papers. She was only saying that to hurt you because she's angry at herself for getting caught. She had to say that to try to scare you into coming back because in reality, she has and is nothing without you. She can't cook or clean for herself. Update 2. Hey guys, your comments have helped me and I cannot appreciate you all enough. It is true Leo was trying to manipulate me. She knew I was a weak spot and she wanted to exploit that. I did as you advised and she signed the divorce papers. I'm happy to announce that we are officially divorced and she is out of my life for good. My apologies for not making this update earlier. After we divorced, I wanted some quiet time, so I went off social media for a few weeks. I would not have believed it if someone had told me that Mia would break in a matter of weeks. The other time we met for her to sign the divorce papers, she acted tough and like she was the only existing woman on earth. But after we divorced, she turned into a new person. She kept blowing my phone and sent me multiple messages on Facebook. I was even forced to block her number and block her on social media, but that didn't stop her. Some days ago, she showed up at my front door looking all miserable and in tears. Funnily enough, some people commented that she would return, but I didn't believe them. Immediately, I opened the door. She went on her knees and started to cry. She begged me to take her back. If I did, she would turn a new leaf. She went on to talk about how life had been hard for her without me in it, and as of the time she spoke, she had nowhere to stay, and her car was about to get repossessed if I didn't help her. She had lost her job, and due to her tarnished reputation, she wasn't getting any other work. She had wasted all her savings on her student boyfriend, shooting him in the best restaurant and gifting him the fanciest clothes. Now she's broke. Seeing her there enraged me again, and I tried to shut the door in her face, but she pushed forward. When her first pleas did not work, she pulled a different card and said she had a confession to make. She exhaled deeply and explained that she could not get pregnant for the 2 years we tried because she was on birth control pills. She says she took them because she was not ready to become a mother back then. But now she was ready, and if I took her back, she would get pregnant, and in a few months, we would have the child I've always wanted, and we'd be a big, happy family. I allowed her to explain herself, and after she was done, I told her I knew about the birth control pills she was taking. That expression on her face was worth framing. Before she said another word, I told her that even if I could forgive her for cheating on me, I could never forgive her for making a fool out of me. She watched me as I worried for her and myself. I even prayed every night for us because I had run out of options, and prayer was the only thing left. I did many tests, yet she didn't say a word. She kept repeating her dumb phrase, and I believed we were on the same page. It's partially my fault. I should have suspected she knew something when she was acting less concerned, but I felt I was being paranoid. There's no need to ask if I took her back. I wouldn't be so stupid. I asked her to get off my property and promised to have her arrested if she showed up again. I guess it's just me now. I have never been heartbroken in the past, but I've never been so let down and devastated. Any suggestions on how to move on faster would be appreciated. Thank you, everyone, for all the comments and advice. It has really helped me. Yes, of course life is hard without you. Who's going to clean up after her? She has to do that herself now. She sure did have some guts to ask you to take her back and to start a family. What an absolute train wreck and delusional buffoon to think that you'd actually take her back. It's a blessing you didn't end up having a child with her. You'd be trying to fight for custody of a child that might not even be yours. And who needs that kind of stress? There's a woman out there for you, OP, and you'll have the beautiful family you've always wanted. There's still time. Don't feel like you have to follow those societal pressures. Everyone's timeline looks different. All the best, OP. What do you make of this? Would you have figured something was up? Do you have a similar story? Let us know in the comments below. Next up, an ex-husband has to find his way out of this doghouse. Ex texts me first, then says it's weird. Recap. Ex-husband cheats on me in November, divorced in February. He marries a pair partner in June, who's pregnant. Over the last few weeks, he'll start texting me out of the blue, talking to me about our son and his life. He's mentioned several times how financially he isn't doing so well and has lots of kids. Me and him have a son, she has 2 kids and now one on the way. Until Wednesday this week, we basically spoke every day, mostly when he's supposed to be at work. He doesn't text me when he's home. His wife hates it when we talk about anything together. I asked him why he's having a kid so soon, and this MF said, to get the kid stuff out of the way so I'm not too old when the last kid is out of the house. He's 25. It's mostly because she's almost in her mid-30s. He kept texting me about financial problems, but that he claims he's happy. Says his wife takes care of him. Nothing else about what he likes about her or what he does for her, just what she can do for him. On Wednesday, he texted me saying that us talking is weird and that we shouldn't ever be friends. We weren't in the first place. Says it's unhealthy for us both, and he loves his wife and that won't change. Like he's insinuating that I'll go after him? What the F? I'm just confused because he was the one who kept engaging in conversation with me. Maybe he's just dealing with his own insecurities and placing it on me. I don't want him back, and I certainly don't go after married men. Why would he do that? Maybe his new wife caught him still cheating with UOP, and now he's in the doghouse. If she takes care of him, maybe she threatened to cut him off. It all probably is healthier to distance yourself from him, though, OP. Update. I had a doctor's appointment set for my son for the last 2 months. I had so much going on I didn't remember the exact day, and I got a notification that it's Toro. I text my ex about getting his affair partner set up to take him to appointments. I just started a job. I'm not in position to miss work. She watches him during the day for me and my ex. He tells me to talk to her about that, and then I told her about the appointment. She texts me that she can't, even though she's literally home all day with the kids. He texts me, chewing me out on how I should have asked her instead of told. I only did what he said to do. He says that she's not my nanny and that I don't need to boss her around. And then says, because of the text from last week, that from now on, if I need to talk to him, it needs to be through her. That I make him uncomfortable and he doesn't want to talk to me anymore. I don't know if she has his balls in a vice or what. He blows up on me because I just spoke to her about my son's appointment. I'm tired of dealing with them. The community actually had a response. It says, make alternative arrangements for childcare on your days and mandate the use of co-parenting app in your custody arrangement. It'll free you from all of this crap. Oh, she's definitely in control of those balls of his. He 100% got in trouble for talking to you and threatened to take everything away. She's threatened by you. And that's okay. He really shouldn't be talking to you more than he should. Thoughts? Should they still be communicating outside of what is necessary? Thank you for joining us today on our space. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time.